Hello, Mags here again today. I thought I'd show you how I created this tissue. It's created using infusion sprays and Pearl Glaze from PaperArtsy. This has got rusty hinge, let's see what's that one, raspberry and blackcurrant mixed together, and Green Man infusion sprays and the Pearl Glaze. It's got holes in because it ripped slightly. This tissue is just some tissue from some goods that I had delivered, and it's the packaging, so I decided to use it up. I'm going to order some wet strength tissue, but I'm using what I've got at the moment. So it's very pretty. It'll look nice when it's attached to backgrounds or for ATCs or anything. So I thought I'd show you how I created it. Just pop that out of the way. I'm going to work on a lot smaller piece of tissue. This is actually supposed to be rice paper, but I'm not sure whether it is actually rice paper or not. So it looks like tissue, so we'll try it with this. The infusion sprays, I create those with the PaperArtsy Infusions. Let's see, we've got Green Man. So this is the Green Man Infusions. These little spray bottles are from PaperArtsy as well, ideal for this. And what I do is just put some of the Green Man in the bottom, top it up with water and shake it from side to side till the walnut ink crystals and the pigment crystals are completely dissolved. Don't shake it up and down, or else the pigments and the walnut ink crystals get into the tube and block it up. But if you either do a pendulum action like that, or just side to side till they're well and truly dissolved. I tend to let them sit overnight so that they completely dissolve, and then before I use them. So I'm going to use Green Man, and this one is a custom mix. It's got so much of the raspberry infusions and so many of the blackcurrant mixed together. So I've got my rice paper tissue. I usually give it a bit of a scrunch before I start, and then straighten it out. As I say, I'm working on a lot smaller piece, so hopefully you'll be able to see the whole lot. And then just go ahead and spray. Now you want some areas where there's a lot of spray so that it has this effect, where the spray makes it stick to your glass mat. Oh, my Green Man is getting very low. I should have filled it up before I started. We'll go on to the sage. We've got the sage. Alright, and we might throw a little bit of Golden Sands into the mix as well. And what you want is these areas where it is clinging to the glass mat. I need a piece of just white paper or thin card. This is just paper. And I'm just going to gently lay it on the top and press it down. And we get this quite interesting papers. But it also keeps your hands relatively clean. but we get a little bit of an interesting pattern on here. But this is what you want, where it's clinging in some areas but not in others. And you just can keep going over until you get a nice background paper. Right, I'm now going to dry this. I'm going to use my heat gun, but you could just let it sit overnight and dry completely, but I'm going to use my heat gun. So we're back. I've got it completely dried. I've managed to not get any holes in it this time. I'm showing you on top of white card because it shows up the detail a little bit more. And hopefully you'll be able to see all the interesting texture it's created, where the colour pooled and then it developed creases. Now I don't mind the creases, I like the texture, but if you wanted you could iron it so that it was smooth and you'd get the marks but you wouldn't get the actual physical texture. I could use it just like that. We've also got this background paper which coordinates nicely. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add a little bit more interest to it. So set my sprays aside. I've got the Pearl Glaze, Fresco Finish Acrylic Glaze, and it's a pearl glaze. It's from PaperArtsy. And you always give their things a nice good shake up because they're good quality and they need to be shaken well. I've got this empty bottle that I had. It had paint in it, but I emptied it and washed it out. And I'm going to put a good squirt in the bottle of my Pearl Glaze. And then a couple of squirts of just plain water. And then give it a really good shake up. This thins it out because I don't need it to be full strength. So that's set aside for the moment. I've got our paper. Just got a bit of water on it there. Let's dry it off. Right, and I'm going to scrunch it up into a little ball. I'll just make sure my surface is dry. Then I'm going to open it out. Not fully, just partly open it out. So it's got a lot of the texture and a lot of the creases. Right, and flatten it slightly. Set that aside for the moment, and we've got our Pearl Glaze which I've slightly diluted, and I'm just going to dot it about on my glass mat. I've got my little mini brayer and I'm just going to brayer it out onto my glass mat, and then just press my tissue into it, and it will pick up in some areas and not others, so that you'll get highlights in some areas, so you can see. And then if I open it out, you can see that in some areas there's some of the Pearl Glaze. Now, I haven't quite got enough, so I'm just going to lay it down again and go over a little bit more. and it's picked up a bit more. I need a little bit more on there. Yeah. And I could keep repeating this until I'd got the right amount that I wanted. Yeah, I think I need just a little bit more. Just for this corner. I don't want it too, I don't want big areas. Oh, that's a bit more scrunched up again. Yeah, I need a little bit more in this area, so scrunch it again and go back. That's it. So I'll give it a quick blast, and then you can see it's got some nice, interesting highlights. As you see, when it dries, it's the most gorgeous shimmer. I hope the camera is picking it up. Hopefully the camera can pick this up. So we've got some nice colour going on, and we've got some nice shimmer. I'll just put it on the white card again so that you can see. And as I say, you can either use it crinkly like this, or you can iron it. But if you iron it, just make sure that you put another piece of paper on the top, or else your acrylic glaze might stick to your iron. But it's very, very pretty. And with some nice stamping and maybe some botanicals on there, it'll look lovely. And again, as I say, we've got the coordinating background paper as well. One thing I am going to try is doing a little bit of the Tim Holtz collage paper. I think that's more or less dry. I'm just going to scrunch that up. Spread it out again. Get rid of the brayer out of the way. I think my green man was getting empty. Yes, the green man's empty. The sage. So we'll go. And I think we'll go. Let's have a look. Rusty car. We'll try rusty car. Just fill this one up, so it needs to start working. That's it. And let's go with this. Ooh, that's nice. That's a nice background paper. We aren't getting the pooling so much, but I'll dry this and then we'll see what it looks like. Right, so we've got it dried, But I think I want a little bit more interest on this, on the collage paper, Tim Holtz collage paper. So if I can find my fan brush, which it should be somewhere here. Oh, I don't know where it's gone. Anyway, a loosish brush, and just dip it in some of my... This water's got shower gel in it, because in my water pot for putting my brushes in, I put shower gel in. I think I've mentioned this before in previous videos. It seems to keep my brushes in reasonable condition, because I aren't always the best at immediately washing them. I don't buy expensive brushes because I'm not great at looking after them. So I've got some splashes on there, quick dry. Which has added a little bit more interest, not a lot. But I'm going to do the Pearl Glaze technique again. Got quite a bit there. Just going to roll it out a bit, so that it's a little bit more spread out. Crunch our paper up. And then remembering to do it face down. Just dab it in. There we are, we get the... yeah. So when that's dry, that should be rather nice. I'll just... and don't forget, you can always keep these nice inky and pearlescent baby wipes for doing other things. So that's quite interesting now. It's got a little bit of pearl on it as well as the colour. There we are. So you can use it on printed tissue as well. The PaperArtsy printed tissue would be good to use. But I think that this Tim Holtz one has turned out rather nicely, especially with the flowers with the rusty car and the leaves with the sage. So that's a few ideas for you. Let's get the other one. That one. And then this one, which is still drying, which is rather nice. What I might do is scrunch a bit of tissue up and dab the pearl onto there. But as you can see, quite a productive session. Right, so I just thought I would show you what I did with some of the paper and tissue that I created. This is a greetings card. I don't very often make cards nowadays. I was originally a card maker, paper crafter, but as I've got into mixed media and I don't do that quite so much now, but occasionally I just like to create a card. So this was quite an easy one. It's just a, let's see, how big is it? Not quite a 6-inch card, probably about 5.5, just under 6 inches. And the background paper is the one that we created by pressing the paper onto the tissue when it had been sprayed. So that's the background. This area here is torn tissue. I did that with a glue stick. It's the easiest way. Just put your glue stick on, have your piece of torn tissue and press it on. It saves it showing anywhere because it's not really wet. You don't get any bleeding of the tissue, and also it's nice and easy and quite clean. So that's this here. That was a strip of that. Then I've got another strip of the background paper that was put on. And then lastly, this strip here is paper tape that I created from our tissue. I have some wide double-sided tape, so all I did, put my tissue face down on my glass mat, pressed my double-sided tape onto it, make sure it was well and truly stuck, and then cut it out. And then you get paper tape with a nice lot of interesting and coordinating colours. So peeled the backing off and that went across there. Printed a sentiment out with my label maker, popped that on, and then just these doodles. They coordinate quite nicely with the goldy colour that's in here, but they contrast against the rest of the colours and show up nicely. Oh, the background paper, I did splash a little bit of the leftover Pearl Glaze onto the background. So you will see, I don't know if you can see it, it's got a little bit of a glitter, a pearl effect where the splash is on there. Round the outside edge I just ran a broad pen, the nib of a broad pen, just show you, just get the edge, and it just gives it a nice black edge. So I hope you like that, and I hope it gives you some ideas.